Hello, and this is a drink review of a drink called Repp Energy. And the camera is different now because for some reason OBS, even though I've restarted my computer, checked for updates on OBS, but if I want to have the normal camera that I've been doing, the normal just full screen everything, it doesn't work. The only thing that works is this cropped. I have no idea why. It's so stupid. But oh well. Maybe tomorrow the normal one will work. Thankfully this is the one, this crop right here is what I use, when I stream. Alright. My emulation games and stuff like that. Or when I've done those hologram reactions. Alright. Oh yeah, I completely forgot. What is the drink I'm drinking? And this drink review is Repp Energy Blue Shock. And I don't think I've tried this before. Maybe I should have checked before. Let's say Blue Shock. No, I have not. So, I don't know if I would say it smells like blueberries. Or maybe it's not. Well, I mean, it looks more like blue raspberries, which I don't think is an actual thing. I think it's just a candy flavor. But let's see how it tastes. It's good. I tend to like the things I like. Blue raspberry. It has a generic just berry mixture with a little bit of sourness at the end, and then it's not too sweet. I would still probably dilute it a little bit. It's fine. So far I think all the Repp Energy I've tasted have been good. Let's read some comments. By Lazul. Andreas, it's no big but a small criticism. I have also made this mistake for tier list. Add music from the game or other chill ambience music with low volume to these videos. It's not necessary, but it does improve them a slight bit. And that was on my Pokemon mainline games tier list. And I mean, I agree. I do think there's some ambience music in the background probably would be better. But that one I just recorded it and uploaded it. I don't think I did any editing. But I guess it might have been good for me as well. I just have a playlist while I do the actual tier list. So yeah, I'll keep that in mind. I mean, I agree. And if I edited it, then that would have been... Why didn't I do that? Lazul. At 3 minutes and 7 seconds. I disagree. I unironically like muscle girls, not that buff, but somewhat looks very good. I wish more women were less afraid of doing upper body. It's not like one gets that buff without steroids anyway, unless they got freak genetics. I kinda like the legs of Bee from Pokemon. Those are martial artist legs. Her upper body looks untrained though. She looks like a female flyweight Muay Thai fighter. The upper body could be more buff, more Amazonian. I mean, I also like muscle girls. What did I say at 3 minutes and 7 seconds? I don't think I said... yeah, I mean, it's specifically Lamy. I did not want to say it like that. Oh wait, maybe I can show... There we go, yeah. Lamy, oh god. Andreas in the video, I've skipped ahead a little bit, but... maybe we can go back. I mean, specifically Lamy. Oh yeah, in case you don't know, this character is called Yukihami Lamy, the blue hair. She's an elf, a snow elf. And specifically her, I don't want to look like this. So, I mean, I like muscle girls as well. I like girls with muscles, but not that much. Even though, I mean, some girls I do like with that much muscle, but not Lami. I don't want her to look like that. So, I mean, I agree with the rest of your comment. Other than the fact that B, I think her upper body also looks good. I think she's well proportioned, especially since she's obviously focusing more on kicking, right? So whatever she's doing, she's more of a kicker. Then the last comment is by Duplin. Do you believe that Swedish people can be too nationalistic? I don't hear many people who are that proud to be English anymore. I hear more semi-ironic self-mockery, which I do not like. On the other hand, lots of Swedish content creators I watch sound very proud of their nationality. Sometimes it seems a bit much, so where they consider themselves better than all other countries. I've even heard you mock America before, but to be honest, everyone does, haha. I mean, here in Sweden, I think everyone, like, mocks their own nationality and stuff like that. And like it's one of the like top, like everyone, like even people that come from like the Middle East, whatever, that are super proud of like killing homosexual people in their countries. They will joke around about their thing. So I mean, that's like one of the main humors of Sweden. Basically joking about nationalities, race, all that stuff. Do I think Swedish people can be too nationalistic? Yeah, sure. I mean, some Swedish people can be too nationalistic. I mean, like I mentioned, one of my neighbors. I mean, they are like Swedish Democrat, like neo-Nazis, like actual neo-Nazis. But like I also said, you see, a black man going in and out, like fucking his wife all the time, and he has sex with, like black and Muslim women. So, I mean, when she's not here, you always see like a black or Muslim woman go walking into their apartment. And when he's not here, you always see a black man walking into their apartment. So it's kind of like, I guess you said specifically nationalistic, and not really like. Yeah, I mean, sure, I think those things exist in every single country on the planet, right? Even, I don't know, like a complete shithole in like Africa, for example. They are also nationalistic, so I don't know. I don't think it's really that big of a problem. Even though I do think, why would you be proud of accomplishment that other people did for you, right? I mean, yeah, sure, I have Greek in me, but I'm not like nationalistic for Greece or even from Sweden. I'm born here in Sweden, but I mean, I didn't do these things, so why would I be proud for myself, right? Like, I could be like, oh, that's a cool thing. That person who did that thing was really cool. Good thing he did that, but... And also, I'm also someone who's never, like, proud about... For example, I'll talk about myself. Like, some people have, like, this God, like, thing about, let's say, Alexander, right? Alexander the Great. I mean, he killed a bunch of people. Like, that's what he made him great. Slaughtering a bunch of people. War. I don't know, like, it'd be like, oh, he was really good at that, but I don't know. It's not something I care for. It's the same, and then since we're talking about Swedish, some Swedish people are like super proud of Karl XII, Carolus Rex, because he created the Swedish, he helped with creating the Swedish era of power, right? And then obviously he got shot in the head. I think by a Swedish person. I think he was killed by one of his soldiers. But that is kind of like disputed. Was he killed by a Norwegian, like just sharpshooter, or was he killed by one of his own men? Because at that time, people weren't very happy with the constant wars. And I think Karl X Gustav, the person who took over and ended the Swedish great era of power and brought peace, I think he is someone that I prefer. Now, do I think he was a great person? No. But out of these two, I think Carl Gustav the 10th, I think. My Swedish history is not super good, but I remember Karol Rex and Carl X, Bernadotte, all those people, the important characters. Because I think it was Carl X that they did the Polish deluge, right? For example, the Swedish Empire did more damage to Poland than the Nazis did. I mean, objectively speaking, the Swedish were worse to Poland than the Nazis were, or the Germans, I should say. And I think it was during this guy. I mean, this guy was just, like Alexander, just war. So, I don't know, I've never really been like, man, I'm so into this, killing a bunch of people, because who are the main people who suffered from all this shit? From Karl XII, Peter the Great, all that shit. Just normal people wanted to live their lives. Fuck them. And I don't understand why people, you have this reverence to these, great people of history, like these kings and queens and blah blah blah. Guess what? You would not be in their upper echelons. You would be the fucking motherfucker who's just in the front lines getting killed, or in the trenches, fighting. Because there's a great quote in The Witcher 2, in the very first mission, where they talk about that the real battle is actually happening down there and not up here in the battlements where all the the knights and the nobles are fighting and killing each other. The actual gritty and just the things that will actually win the battle is happening down there on the ground in the meat grinder. Basically all the levies fighting each other. But yeah, so that's my opinion. And also the fact that, a lot of them don't actually give a fuck about normal Swedish people either. So it's kind of like when people call them racist, I'm kind of like, yes, sure, in a certain way, maybe they are racist, but the thing is that they also hate Swedish people, or like ethnic Swedes. They might not be open about it, but all their economic policies and all their things will hurt normal Swedish people as well, right? Like the majority. So I don't know. I don't think they're racist. I don't think so. But I do think they have a what would you call upper echelon nationalism, for example, where it's kind of they are pro. God, what is it called? Adel. That's this Swedish name for it. Adel in English. Adel på engelska. Because I don't... Nobility, there we go. Jesus, why was it that hard for me to remember? And they all think that they are going to be in the nobility, and having a bunch of Swedish servants. No, you are going to be that servant to a noble who is not going to give a fuck about you when they are now at the top. But I do agree with Lezu's comment here that I don't like self-hatred. I think it's very stupid. For the same reason, I feel like it's so stupid to be so proud of because someone else killed a bunch of people who were innocent. Oh man, these people killed, raped, and stole from these bunch of peasants from Poland or Lithuania. Man, they're so cool. I also think it's so stupid that some people, Swedish people now, were oh god, I hate myself for it. No, you didn't do that. So So don't feel, self-hatred, even if it was your direct ancestor. And this is a topic that is pretty cool, but I think I really need to talk with someone, bounce ideas off, because it's pretty hard for me to talk about it just by myself, right? But I also do think that, be proud of their culture. Yeah, sure. I mean, at the end of the day, I think you can be proud, and I will probably be more just be happy, be glad. The good things about whatever culture you're part of, be happy about that. But you don't need to do the bad things as well, right? Just because, for example, for me, tradition is kind of culture, tradition, pretty much they become the same thing, right? I guess you could say culture turns into tradition. But it's kind of if it's something you don't agree with, just because and it's your culture, you don't need to do that. And if it's something I actually prefer that thing from that culture over this thing we're doing in my culture. So you know what? I'll just replace the thing I don't like with that thing. But you don't need to take the bad things from that culture as well. And I think you need also, one problem here in Sweden is that people don't want to recognize that other cultures also have a bunch of shitty things. I would say most cultures, probably 50% probably good things, 50% bad things. It's kind of you know what? Our culture doesn't hate XYZ as much as that culture. So that means our culture is better in that thing. It's yeah, objectively speaking, it is better. But you should probably change, because it's still a bad thing. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of what I think. And also, I mean, at the moment, I think the number one problem of Sweden is the drugs. That is actually what's fueling all these wars that's happening right now. Because I know some people have sent me on Discord news articles from their countries about Sweden. And the thing is that is the big gangs have fractured here in Sweden to a lot of smaller gangs who are fighting for power. And obviously when that happens, that's when the bloodshed happens, right? Because if there's one big gang controlling a whole area, things actually are relatively safe, because the gangs don't really want the police there, right? So they don't really want, just stupid small crimes and stuff like that. And if they were gonna go and murder people, they would just murder other gang members. But now, when it's a bunch of smaller gangs fighting for power and they really care, about what they're shooting and bombing, because it's kind of if we kill 2 innocent people, but we get the guy we wanted to kill, that's fine. So that's kind of how it is. And I think someone, okay, I was about to say who, I don't remember who, but they also sent me Sweden has so much rape. I mean, Sweden has rape, but it's not as much as you would think, because here in Sweden, how we track rape, for example, let's say a husband rapes his wife every day for 365 days. Every day he comes home, he rapes her. And then after a year, he gets convicted. In Sweden, that would be tracked as 365 rapes. So that husband, he raped his wife 365 times, and in the statistics, that would be added as 365 rapes in this place, in this area, right? And let's say that happened in, one of the smaller village here, that have 2,000 people. Then it would be and that is the only rapes that happened. So you could say 1 in 2,000 people raped someone in that place, which, how many percentage would that be? 0.0, it would be 0.00 something, right? Because 1 in 100 would be 1%. 1 in 1,000 would be 0.1%. Then it would be 0.05, right? For 1 in 2,000. Or you can say you take 2,000 divided by 365. How much would that be? I do have a calculator here, so I might as well use it. 2,000 divided by 365. Alright, yeah, so you can say like for every 2,000 citizens, there's like 5.47 rapes, right? Which is very high, right? It would be like, man, around 5% instead of 0.05, right? While in places, pretty much in every other country other than Sweden, that would be just one rape case, right? While in Sweden, that would be 365 rape cases. Then you can argue, well, that guy is being convicted of 365 rape cases, but he's only gonna get probably 6 to 8 years of jail, and if he's a good boy in jail, probably 2 to 4. So, I mean, I guess that's a problem, right? Well, I don't think, I guess that's a problem. That is a problem in the fact that in Sweden we have 2, what's called, forgiving punishments for violent crimes, while we have extremely harsh punishments for non-violent crimes. So that's, I think, it's a big problem here in Sweden. But, I mean, not a single actual party wants to fix the problems other than the Pirate Party, because they're the only one that actually know how to fix it. Make drugs legal. Start off with, and now me and Pirate Party differ a little bit in how to make it legal. They want to make everything legal immediately. To me, I would be like, you know what? Start with cannabis. Start with cannabis, and then in something that the Pirate Party also don't want to, that I would be like, put it in Systembolaget. Systembolaget is a Swedish monopoly, like the Swedish government's owned monopoly on alcohol, over like 3% or something. Make it so that they now take over the cannabis selling as well. So it's like regulated. Yeah, I think that would reduce crime by probably 90%. The violent crimes, such as the shootings and the stabbings and all that, the murders, I promise, will go down 90% within probably like 4 years. Because all these gangs in Sweden, they are fueled by the drug money. Even though, I mean, most of the drug money they're getting is not actually from cannabis here. Fent something, cocaine, crack, the oxycodone stuff, you know, like pills. That's where the money comes from. But if people had access to probably cannabis, I'm sure a lot of those people would use that as their drug of choice. They would wean themselves off these harsher things to cannabis. I think the reason why they're using the harsher things is because, well, that's a lot easier to get here in Sweden. And I think that is what you need to focus on. Help the people who have these drug problems. And, I mean, people don't want to help them. That's also one of the reasons why I don't think that some of the, you know, the right-wing parties here in Sweden actually give a fuck about Swedish people. Because most of the people that have these problems are ethnic Swedes. I mean, the drug gangs that are in these areas, in the, you know, the immigrant areas, they're not actually making a lot of money from the immigrants, right? They're making money from the middle-class Swedish people that are buying and fueling these gangs. So, yeah, I mean, you go for the money and you break it up, right? But yeah, I mean, that is my opinion. Man, I was gonna do like a quick little CNA here before I watch episode 27 of Pokemon, or 26. Don't remember. Which episode is it? Episode 27 of Pokemon. Thank you for watching, and because now I'm just in the mood, like I'm talking about, oh my god. Like for me, like the number one problem here in Sweden is the drugs, because that is what leads to all these other things, you know, with the gangs and all that. But no one wants to actually legalize in Sweden, so the problem is never actually gonna fix itself. Because yeah, sure, if we do what the Swedish Democrats want, we kick out all these foreigners, these migrants that have now taken over the gangs here is not really gonna help that much, because, I mean, in my area where I live, the number one gang when I was young here wasn't a migrant gang. It was the Swedish homosexual biker gang, and they were doing the exact same thing. And guess where they were getting their money? Selling the fucking drugs. Now, they were 10, 12 years ago, they were kicked out from this area by one of the bigger like Muslim gangs. No, wait. They were fighting a Balkan gang. Like a Serbian gang. No, not Serbian. A Bosnian something gang. I think. Let's say a Balkan, a Slav gang. They might be Russian. I don't know. And then both of those were kicked out by a big Muslim gang. And then that Muslim gang has now fractured into like who knows how many gangs fighting each other, along with, a bunch of other gangs joining in. So that's where the problems arise.